Line's good.
Never on.
Whoa.
Hard. Hardly.
Come on, Brent.
Line's good.
Got real close.
I hear high, right?
Try and hit 2/3.
Have they saved it for her? Yes, they have.
Welcome to Game of Stones, everybody. I am Sean Graham Scott, alongside, as always, hello, Scott.
Sean, hello. Bit of a sad occasion to be joining you today.
Yes, a tough day here in the world of curling. I woke up this morning to the news that Thomas Ulsrud had passed away. Thomas Ulsrud, of course, the longtime skip of Team Norway, passed away from cancer after a long battle with cancer. Not something that was expected for a lot of folks out there, us included. But Scott, a bit of a gut punch this morning.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's lots of people in the curling community that will remember, when Sandra Schmirler passed away, and how tough that was for everybody here in Canada, especially. And this one's not too far off, Sean. Maybe not as big a name in Canada, but definitely a huge name in the world of curling. And sort of a surprise, I think, to a lot of us.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the first thing I saw this morning was Mike Harris's tweet that this had happened. So obviously I think some people close to him had known, but I don't think it made it public knowledge, or at least not to the point that we knew. So yeah, a little surprising. But let's run down Thomas Ulsrud's resume a little bit. Not that we necessarily need to, but one of the greatest players of all time. He was a 12-time world championship appearances, was there 12 times. He won, of course, the world championship in 2014 in Beijing, silver the next year in Halifax. He also has 3 bronze medals to his name. European championship, appeared 17 times, won twice in 2010 and in 2011, a pile of silvers and a pile of bronze. Also, the World Junior Championship skipped Norway to a bronze medal in 1988. 3 Olympic appearances, perhaps most famously the first one in 2010 in Vancouver, silver medal there, losing to Kevin Martin in that final. But that, I think, Scott, is where a lot of casual fans, or even not casual fans, like non-curling fans, that's where they met Thomas Ulsrud and Team Norway, because of the pants. Vancouver is where the pants really became a thing. And for as much as, and in interviews, Thomas would always talk about that it was Christopher Sva's idea. He was the one who bought the pants, but they really became associated with that team, and as a result, really became associated with Thomas Ulsrud.
Yeah, and it was sort of the embodiment of the fun attitude of that team. They were such a great curling team, skill-wise, but the added flair and little bit of personality, as you say, it was Christopher Sva's idea, but the whole team sort of embraced it. And I was there, Sean, in 2010 at those Olympic Games, and that was the talk in the crowd at the time. It wasn't about, wow, this Kevin Martin rink might be the best of all time. It was, hey, have you seen these crazy pants the Norwegians are wearing? And would even erupt at times into chants of, we like your pants, we like your pants, we like your pants. And yeah, signs, everything. It really made the curling event stick out as something that was like a little more fun and less stoic than other curling events.
Yeah, I think it was the first time that curling went viral. And I don't know if things were really going viral at that point, but that really was the first Olympics with more of a social media presence. It was more commonplace at that point. So there was something there that allowed these guys to spread around the games, and word of what they were doing to spread around the games. And it was pretty cool to see the different pants, what they came up with. Of course, over the years, they continued it with the different styles, and it really became their signature. And and you're right, it's not just about sort of wearing the pants. It's what that kind of embodied for that team. And when you see interviews of Thomas Ulsrud or the other guys too, they would talk about, yeah, we go to a spiel, we're gonna go out and have a nice meal and some wine when we're not playing. We're gonna embrace it. We're gonna have a good time while we're doing this. And that came out on the ice when they were playing. Certainly fierce competitors, but we're also very obviously having a good time. And from everything that you've read today, that translated off the ice for Thomas Ulsrud as well. It's nobody, and not just today, but in the years that we've followed this, I've never heard anybody say anything bad about Thomas Ulsrud.
Yeah. Never anything bad. Lots of great memories from the curlers have come out today about sort of the fun and generous spirit that he was within the game. To sort of put a button on that pants story, Sean, pun intended. We saw them in Vegas do the wiggle to get their pants on. So they start with the pants on their ankles, and they would not use their hands and would somehow be able to get the pants all the way up. And this was just like something that was programmed into the event. It was well known enough that hey, we're going to have these guys pull their pants up without using their hands.
Yeah, they had music queued up and they danced and did the
crowd,
whole thing. Yeah,
the crowd went wild. So yeah, like true showman, Thomas Ulsrud and the rest of his team.
Yeah, that got the biggest cheer of the week.
Yeah, I think even more than Team North America winning on the last second shot. It was right. It was the pants.
Yeah. So just really a showman, as you said, wonderful person, and certainly condolences to his family, and only 50 years old. So certainly way too young to be talking about this sort of thing with Thomas Ulsrud. Scott, I do want to talk though. You were, as you said, you were at those Olympic Games in 2010 where the pants really went viral. And for as much as that was the signature moment in the career in terms of launching them into the next level where more people knew who they were. They're already great players, but that kind of took them to another level. That gold medal game against Kevin Martin and Team Canada, I don't know if anybody else could have done what they did in that game. Now, they lost the game, of course, but the fact that they were within the game, and it sort of got out of hand towards the end, but they played well. They dealt with a hostile environment early in the game. Somebody yelled during Thomas's shots when he was about to kick out. It was as hostile of a curling environment as you could get for an opponent. And those guys, I remember watching it and thinking they're still in it. They're not being overwhelmed by it, and they seem to still be having a good time with it. And at the end, when I think Kennedy's in the hack, the crowd starts singing "Oh Canada." Canada has enough time that they let them sing. They don't let the game go on. Ulsrud and those guys were cool. Like, they were cool with it. They didn't get angry. They just went along. And I don't know how many teams could have kept their composure throughout the game and been as gracious and wonderful as they were, while still being obviously disappointed that they didn't win the game. And, I think that a lot is revealed about you as a person in moments where you are not successful and you have not done what you set out to do. And obviously they took the ice that day to win the game, but I think a lot more was revealed about the four of those guys in losing than had they necessarily won the game, which obviously what they would have preferred to have won. But I take that. If you go back, and that game's online, if you go back and watch it, hugely disappointing for them. But you really, for as much as we do talk about, you can't really get a sense of who someone is on TV. That one, I think, might be as close as you can get to seeing the true people who were out there wearing those Norway jerseys that day.
Yeah, for sure. They were very gracious in that loss. They had been the bronze medalists the last 2 years before at the Worlds, so it wasn't like unprecedented for them to get to that gold medal game. They were a very good team, but I think everybody was kind of geared up for Martin versus David Murdoch in sort of the rematch right? But Norway happened to get into that gold medal. And yeah, it was just a great game all around. Thomas Ulsrud played really well. I've got it here. Well, he shot 72%, so I guess not as good, but he was just brought down by a couple of misses. But I remember him having like really good draw weight all week, and sort of making the team sort of rise to the moment, which they hadn't been able to do before. And you're right, I don't think anybody could have beaten that Team Canada on that day in that place. But the way that they handled it was world class. And I think that's a word that I'm seeing a lot today in describing Thomas Ulsrud as world class.
Yeah, world class player, world class person, and a showman, as you said, not just with the pants, but if you go on YouTube, there's tons of clips of at one point he rolled the rock down the ice at the end of a blowout game. He was into it, and he was into putting on a show for the fans, and he got it. If I could sort of just put it that way, he sort of understood what the sport was about and what live curling is about as well. So a terrible loss for the sport, and certainly for the Norwegian curling community, but for the curling community in general. So sending our best to everybody out there you just hate like I hate that we're talking about it. I hate that we have to do this.
Sad day for everyone.
Absolutely. So with that, this is going to be the show this week. Just standalone, just talk about Thomas Ulsrud, how wonderful of a player and a person he was. And with that, I'm going to give the last word to Thomas Ulsrud. Here's a couple of clips of him. First from the 2010 World Championship, and then a 2013 interview that he did with World Curling TV. So we'll talk to everybody next week. Keep those brooms on the ice. Don't dump that intern.
I started curling when I was 10 years old, and it was actually my stepfather who was a curler at the time, so he brought me along, and I've been loving the sport since then. My favorite curling moment has to be the Olympics in Vancouver. It was just a perfect 2 weeks. We were on a good roll. We ended up winning silver. We lost the final to Canada, but still we were in the hot spot, with the press from Norway and Europe, and probably the whole of the world was watching curling, and it was just a great moment.
Probably when most people think of curling in Norway men's team, they probably think of the trousers, and this all gets started just before the Olympics. The Norwegian Curling Federation gave us some t-shirts to play in, and they were actually grey and black, and we were playing in black pants. We thought, this is boring, we need some color to lighten this up, So one of the guys went online on the web and found these crazy golf pants, and they're actually quite stretchy as well, so they're perfect for curling, and I can play in these pants.
My favorite way to relax away from curling is probably a good game of golf with my buddies. Actually, me and Torger, the guy playing third on the team, we play a bit of golf together. There is always some betting, so I ended up getting my shoes polished and stuff like that, or just beating it for a drink in the bar afterwards. That's a good way to relax for me. I always beat him.
I think especially as a skip, you have to almost be borderline to be a bit cocky. You have to say, of course I'm gonna make this one. Okay. If you sit there and doubt yourself, I'm not sure I'm gonna make this. You're never gonna make it. So you have to at least tell yourself in your head, I'm gonna make this one. We have some coaches from the Norwegian Olympic Federation try to tell us what to eat and not to eat. How should I put this? We don't always listen. We're a bit like old school. Even if we play tournaments, we sometimes go out for a good steak and a couple of 1 or 2 glasses of red wine or whatever. I mean, do what you're used to. I'm used to that. So if I should completely change it, only drink water and eat salad, I wouldn't play well.